I'm Sam.
And I'm Greg.
We're human beings. And we like movies.
We'll be doing reviews of brand new releases,
Old classics,
entire sagas.
and even TV shows and video games.
This is Reaction Time.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 40.
40.
You guys, today we're talking about
The Creator.
the new movie by Gareth Edwards, creator of Rogue One.
Rogue One. And welcome to Sam's new studio.
Welcome to the new studio. We're here, we're vibing, we're thriving, and we're 40.
Yeah.
Hopefully, things sound a little better, look a little better. You don't have to look at the tan walls anymore.
Hopefully I look better.
Hopefully, Craig looks better. Yo, okay.
Man.
First portion of this is going to be spoiler free. This movie
Yep.
just came out last week, about 5 days ago.
Yes, it did.
So we're going to do spoiler free, and we'll let you know when there's spoilers going
Yeah.
on. So,
If this is your first time listening, so we rate every movie out of 1,000 because movies are worth more than 10 points.
yes, they are. So we rate them 5 categories. We got the visuals, the story, the acting, the score, and the vibe. And we break those into 200 points each.
Yep.
Winner take all.
Winner take all. We
So-
always let you know when we're doing spoilers.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, and here we are.
Okay.
All right, Craig, I want you to give me...
No, I wanted you because this is like your most hyped
I can do
movie
it. I
this
can do
year.
it. I can give it to you.
Okay.
I'm going to say 9.5.
Okay.
What was yours?
So I had one number.
Okay.
It was going to be an 8.9.
Okay.
This is a brand new idea, right?
Right.
This is an original
Right.
idea. There's no IP. It's not based off a book. There's
Yeah.
nothing. And it's an $80 million budget.
Which is, if you guys don't know,
Unheard
that's
of.
so cheap
That's
to make a movie.
Well, that's also unheard of for a new IP for somebody to drop
Absolutely.
$80 million on.
And a movie that looks like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe a movie with no visual effects,
Oh, yeah.
like you could do.
Yeah.
Right? But not a movie that looks like this.
Yeah. So I had some issues with the story.
Yeah,
but then
I
when
did
he
as well.
explained it, his name's Chris Stuckman. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
I've heard of him.
He's
yeah.
a movie reviewer. So
Yeah.
everything I'm saying, this is totally him. This isn't me. But there's a lot of similarities with this story with a lot of other stuff that's already out there.
Okay.
So that's why I kind of had some issues with the story. I was just like,
Yeah.
this is something we've heard before. But what he was saying was to make a new IP and have that big of a budget to do it, you need to go to the people and be like, oh, it's like this, and
Yeah.
so people will like it because of this. Or
That's true because you have no proof that it's going to work
no.
at all.
And he's not that big of a director, right? Rogue One did
Yeah.
really well,
Yeah.
but it's not Christopher Nolan. It's not Quentin Tarantino.
it's not, he's not really a household name.
No.
you
And
know,
so for them to get a huge budget for a new IP,
yeah,
it's much easier for Christopher Nolan to do that
that's true.
versus him. So after hearing that, I'm going to bring it up to a 9.2
Cool.
because it made sense.
Yeah, that's
So,
true. So
far
here's the thing.
incredible.
This is the movie that I was like the absolute most hyped for the entire year.
Yeah.
Once we saw the preview at Mission Impossible 7, because I hadn't even heard that this
that
movie
what it
was
was,
going to
Mission
exist.
Impossible 7?
Yeah, and then it was the only preview
Yeah.
that played before that movie. It was just like The Creator, and I was like, so I was super hyped for this movie. On one hand, this did not live up to my personal hype, more for the future of the IP
Okay.
and for just kind of like where the story went.
Yeah.
It was less of something that was kind of a Star Wars movie and more of like a story-driven movie, right?
Yeah.
Which Star Wars is story-driven, but it's also like, it's high fantasy, it's
A lot of
it's
action.
a lot of action, a lot of like fun stuff, but
Yeah.
less story,
Story.
I guess,
Yeah.
right? There is a story, but so I'm not necessarily going to docket points for that.
Okay.
But it did like, I really liked the movie a lot.
Yeah, it
and I
was a cool
liked
movie.
where it went. It just didn't go where I kind of, not expected, but where I was kind of hoping that it went. Because it
Okay.
didn't like set up future movies or anything, I don't think. I mean,
No.
future movies are possible,
Yeah.
right? But it didn't set them up.
Yeah.
So it wasn't in the same genre that I thought it was going to be. I think that's kind of mostly
Yeah.
what
You're
it was.
expecting kind of more action-packed.
Right.
With a story. This was more
Which-
some action with a really crazy
good
story.
good action, good visuals.
Oh, yeah,
really
yeah.
good story, like overall.
Yeah.
There was like some stuff with the story that I didn't love, some underexplained things and different stuff like that. But overall, I think it was a very good movie. So I'm hoping that maybe gets some word of mouth
Yeah.
and people go see it, because this is a movie that so many people are gonna like. Like Courtney liked this movie, right? Because it's not just action or just sci-fi or
Right,
just
right.
whatever. Like it's a very, very good. It's just a good like overall movie.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that it does well, because I'd like to see a second one.
I would too. It'd be cool.
But yeah, do you recommend the movie?
I do.
Okay.
I think you should go see it in theaters. Just
Yeah.
to, I think you need to go see it in theaters to promote this movie.
Right.
Right. This
Yeah.
movie deserves to do well and
does.
deserves another movie.
I'm gonna say something that's probably gonna be a hot take, and it can be looked at in a million different ways. I think the visuals for this movie were better than Avatar. They're different, right? Where Avatar has
yeah.
a lot of people, so it's like people, right?
CGI people.
and like landscape. So it's very different from this one, which is mostly just like hard surface CGI,
Yeah.
which technically has been able to be really good since like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would just say that this one was way cleaner.
For
But yeah, and for $80 million versus $13 bajillion or whatever they spent on Avatar.
yeah, I mean they say the budget's like $300 million, but if he needed to make $2 billion to break even,
Yeah, how much did he pay out of pocket for the development of this CGI?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So,
it looks as good as Avatar for
Oh,
$80 million.
100%.
And I don't know how they did
yeah,
that.
100%.
It's
So,
insane.
yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Subscribe to the
Subscribe.
podcast, to YouTube, iTunes. Subscribe to the Zune. We're on the Zune.
What's
now.
the Zune? Are you talking about the Zune like the MP3 player?
Because it's at iTunes.
Wow.
Oh.
We're going to jump into spoilers.
Yes. So what are your
Let's get
visuals? Are
started.
they
So,
200 then?
Let me read you something real quick. Okay. Okay, this is what it says. I can't figure out how we did it for the money that we had. I think it's a lot of targeted decisions. When I was approached about the movie, and this is the visual effects supervisor talking about it. When I was approached about the movie, one of the things that Gareth Edwards spoke about was just this idea that we would figure it out as we went. We would partner together. He would list out all the things that he wanted aspirationally. Maybe he would get a lot of them, but he knew we wouldn't get all of them. That's a very different starting place than a lot of the movies that we work on. So they just kind of made it as they went, which honestly is not a bad idea.
No.
Because here's the thing. So, for people who don't know this, I make music sometimes. And generally, people will write a song and then they will kind of hear it in their head and then they'll hash it out, which probably takes a super long time. I don't know. I don't make music that way. I literally just write a song as I go. I do all of the instruments and all of the lyrics and all the vocals as I go, which sounds like that's kind of what they did for this movie, where they just, I mean, he probably like wrote a story, but then he didn't
Obviously.
have like as many details as somebody normally would, where they have to like go back and do a bunch of reshoots because they didn't like it, didn't turn out exactly how they wanted.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're just reshooting in the moment, right?
Yeah.
Because most movies, I feel like, waste so much money on reshoots.
Oh, yeah. That
Like
was Secret
so
Invasion.
much. And I'll bet you they didn't do any reshoots on this movie.
They
I don't
probably
know that
didn't.
for sure, but
I almost, how some of the story plays out, they probably didn't.
yeah,
Because they're trying to keep the budget low.
yeah. So anyway, I'm going to give you my score right off the bat for
Okay.
visuals. It's 199.5.
Okay.
I do have to take 0.5 off of one thing. So
Okay.
the only thing, I'm going to have to give it a 199 because we don't do 0.5s here. But
I mean, you
the
could.
only thing that was not perfect was the freaking sick bomb robots that just like run out of the ship. One of them, like they have like, I don't know if it was this rubber or this cloth like sleeve thing, and it just didn't look real. It
Yeah,
looked like CGI.
yeah.
Literally everything else in the movie looked perfect. All of it, to me at least.
The only thing, everything looked perfect. Why were all the recordings like VHS quality?
I'm going to talk about that when we get to Vibe. I know it's going to be in forever, but I'm going to
Okay.
talk about it.
That's the only thing that bugged me. It was just like,
Yeah,
it's futuristic.
I get it. Yeah.
Why are we And it wasn't even like that's just how the movie was presenting it. It
Right.
was somebody watching it on a TV or a phone that looked like crap
I know. I'm kind
quality.
of curious about that,
And I was like,
but I'll talk about
Okay.
it later.
I mean, I'm assuming they did it so that they could make it look. When you make something look super perfect, you're very you people are they pick apart at the little
Right,
details,
right.
right? You know, like it's like in Forrest Gump when it shows
Yeah.
him meeting the president. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's fake, so they made it look a little off so
Right.
that it could get away with it.
Yeah. So are you talking about just the beginning with all those
Yeah.
commercials and stuff?
No,
or
the
or later.
I don't know if it was the president or the general guy when
Oh,
he was
I got
talking
you.
about the robots will serve us
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
protect us, and then
that is interesting.
the explosion.
Yeah, I didn't
Dude,
think about that.
That was crazy.
It's so good.
The friggin' nuclear bomb
So
just like
good.
right after
Oh,
that.
I loved it. So
Um,
okay.
So I'm gonna do
you wanna-
198.
198. Great.
Yeah.
Okay. These visuals. So here's the thing about the visuals compared to Avatar. Like I kind of said, Avatar was not flawless, right? Because I mean it's very close to
Yeah.
what they're trying to accomplish, but if you actually saw footage of an actual like Navi person running around and you put it up against an like Avatar footage, you'd see the difference like really really good, right? Whereas in this case, if you take a video like of the Boston Dynamics robot that runs around, right? It doesn't really look any
No.
different from the robots in this movie. There were parts where I was like, I have
Is
no
that
idea
CGI
what's
or is it
CGI
real?
and what's not.
Yeah,
right?
oh, yeah.
It just looks perfect.
It looks so good.
And I would assume that a lot of that, because a lot of them are wearing clothes,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I would assume that they're all people
Yeah.
in like actual clothes and they're just doing maybe like a head replacement and hand replacements, right?
That's true.
Because I doubt they did a lot of CGI cloth and stuff because
Yeah.
CGI cloth can be really good if you spend a lot of time on
I
it
spent a lot of time.
and a lot of money probably.
Yeah.
This just didn't like, and you can still tell when it's CGI cloth, even nowadays.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think it was CGI cloth.
no, you're
like-
probably right.
And honestly, the coolest, I don't know what was cooler, the ones that were full robots or the AI that was like human face with
With
the
the friggin'
hole through their head. You know how much more difficult they make their job by making their heads see through?
yeah.
And they nailed it
Every time.
single time. And it moves inside of there.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Oh, it's so cool. I'm so freaking excited about this movie.
I think if they were given maybe a little, I don't know if they even need more budget, but maybe a little bit more time to flesh out a little bit of the action and story.
Yeah.
This could like be like the next, if they make a next one, this could be like a perfect movie
Oh, absolutely.
because they have the good writing, which
Yeah.
Star Wars doesn't have.
Right.
But they don't have quite the
They
crazy
don't have the
cool
depth of
action.
because
Yeah.
Star Wars has like, if we're talking about dialogue and plot holes, Star Wars is like pretty
Yeah.
meh, but the story's
the lore
great,
and stuff,
right?
Yeah.
Whereas the creator's almost the opposite, where the story's
Yeah.
not really deep,
No.
but it's really good writing and dialogue and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's like if they could like get George Lucas to come and just write what's gonna happen, and then have Gareth Edwards come in and write like all the actual words.
But they ended
But,
it in
yeah.
a way where you could just continue. You could
Oh
either
yeah, they
continue,
didn't end really anything.
You could continue, or you could even do the same universe but a different story.
Yeah, for sure. The landscapes and just the buildings and everything looked so
Great.
Everything just looked so good.
Yeah.
Looked so good. And it was interesting to combine the rural and the futuristic urban elements and all that kind of stuff. It was just so sick.
I think my favorite visual thing were the freaking tanks when they came up.
That was very Avatar-esque.
Yeah, but
like
they
the
look
huge thing.
But they look so cool.
look
like the
so
Avatar tanks
cool.
are like cool,
Yeah.
but
these ones
were
with the
like-
big old U.S. Army on them, so cool.
they were so cool looking.
I'm gonna have to get the toy.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, visuals. I would love to see every movie from now on hit this standard.
Yeah.
Let's jump into the story.
So the one thing I'll say, because we were just talking about the R2D2 guys,
Yeah.
like almost the most devastating / like heart-wrenching thing in this movie, if you really think about it. Did you hear what they said when they got all set up?
No, maybe.
They're setting them all up and they set the target and they're
Yeah.
like, it's been a pleasure to serve you.
Oh yeah.
It's just like them just
Why
like,
is that sad?
it's horrible because they're literally taking an AI robot
I guess that's
and
true,
literally
huh?
telling it to go kill itself to help
Yeah, what a
serve
bummer.
right? To help serve humanity. And they're like, it's been a pleasure to serve you. It's like, it's happy to go kill
Those
itself.
are the Chick-fil-A of bomb robots. It's my pleasure.
I was just like, oh,
That's kind of sad.
that's horrible.
Dang. Chick-fil-A workers in the future be like,
Can we get an F in the
pleasure.
chat for the R2D2 guys?
the R2D2 Chick-fil-A employee bomb robots. Nomad was giving me like anime vibes, dude.
Nomad was?
Yeah, that big old ship in the sky.
Dude,
I don't
that
know
was
why.
so
There's something about
sick.
that was like, oh, I don't know why it's so cool, but it's so cool.
But it's so cool.
Just the way it like comes out of the atmosphere. I don't know. I don't watch any anime, but if I did, that would be it.
My
That was
only,
kinda
thing,
cool.
my only thing wasn't even it flying. It was the freaking light beams of the coordinates and everything. And I was just like, how terrifying would that be
That is
on the ground?
that is one of the coolest
So-
ideas.
Yeah.
It looked so good. Just the
looked
way that
so
that
good.
like comes down and then it kind of like goes over the land and
All
stuff.
the mountains and everything.
Oh my gosh, it was so cool. So cool. Yeah, just that looked. So the dog carrying the grenade to the police.
Oh.
So that gave me major Winston vibes. So these police droids, robots throw a grenade in to kill basically the main character, and the dog picks it up and carries it back out to the police and drops it and blows them up. And I was like, that's something Winston would do because he's an absolute nuisance. So anyway, I thought that was great. The idea of the brain transfer from the person to the robot was sick.
Was really cool.
Great
and also,
idea.
like, it needing to be fresh.
Yes.
Because that is true. Is your brain decays.
Yeah, she's like, he died like 30 minutes ago. We
Yeah.
probably only have 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Or it was something like that.
yeah.
Like, that's really cool.
It's cool.
So, again, great freaking ideas. It's just like there's so much about the story where maybe the story overall was slightly lacking. They did have a lot of cool details that I thought made up for a lot of that kind of stuff. Another one of those is donating your likeness because they have these robots and they start to basically get faces, right? They
Yeah.
get faces put on them so they can start to look like people. And there's like these billboards up and it's like, donate your likeness today and help the cause of AI. And it's like so freaky because then people are walking around, there's like a bunch of people with the same face. And it's a cool
Yeah,
idea,
it's
but
a
it
cool
also
idea.
feels kind of real. Like
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
we would do,
Oh,
people
yeah.
would do that
Oh,
in real life.
yeah,
100%.
exactly, yeah.
So that's where we're at as a
If
society.
you know Ryan Reynolds donated his face, why wouldn't I change my face? To Ryan
Exactly.
Reynolds?
Why
mean,
wouldn't I cut my head off and turn into AI and put Ryan Reynolds' face on my face?
Yeah, I
There's
mean,
no reason not
There's
to
no
do
reason
that.
not to do that.
One of the conversations that I loved the most was the conversation about heaven that he has with her first. And she says, you know, he's like, you have to be a good person to go to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And she looks at him and she says, neither of us can go to heaven because you're not good and I'm not a person.
Yeah.
That was such a cool line.
It was a cool line.
Very, very cool. Story wise, I just feel like there was a lot that should have been explained that
Yeah.
didn't really get explained, mostly about kind of like they brushed over because basically mankind is at war with AI because of a nuclear bomb that was dropped on LA.
That they think AI did that.
They think AI did it,
Yes.
right? And so they say, AI did this. And then later in the movie, somebody says, it was just a coding error. They accidentally nuked themselves. And that's the entire thing, which on one hand, that's fine. But also,
Yeah.
I would like them to get into that. But maybe that's a whole other movie, right?
I think it would be.
So,
I think for me personally, I'm getting like into the actual real life of this movie,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the government or whoever, president, whatever you want to do, I think they knew that nuclear bomb wasn't by AI, but they were
Yeah.
so terrified of what AI could become that they spun that and they wanted people to go against them so that they could destroy AI because they didn't want it to take over because they wanted to be in power.
that's a cool idea.
That's my thought process. So I liked it a little bit more. It didn't just seem like, I mean, you saw a U.S. Army on these massive tanks going
Yeah.
and killing everybody, but it wasn't like they're just evil. It was they're scared.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I actually like that.
The one thing that I'm going to take points off, it wasn't as bad as Revenge of the Sith, but
Fair.
when Maya
Mm-hmm.
She's in a coma, kind of ish,
Yeah, she's in a coma.
because she lost the will to live because her child died. But there's another child that she created.
She literally made this kid.
She literally made this. I got
It's
really,
almost more dumb. Well, I don't know.
No, because she didn't lose her kids.
That's true.
In Revenge of the Sith. They're both still alive, and she just
They're dead now.
Yeah. So it wasn't as bad as Revenge of the Sith, but I was still like, come on, like.
Yeah. I do think the story was very good, and all of the little details about the story were really cool. And
Yeah.
not even necessarily about the story, but just things that were inserted into the movie and
Yes.
ideas about how things would work. Because that does set a movie apart in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
The attention to detail of, you know, not just what's going to happen during this movie, but also like, how is society functioning?
Right.
What kind of technology do people have?
Right.
How do people talk? You know, what kind of robots are there? What are the governments like?
Mm-hmm.
All sorts of stuff like that takes a lot of planning and consideration and all that kind of stuff. So I have to give them bonus points for the well thought outedness of the movie without overcomplicating
Right.
anything.
The freaking end when he's climbing on the freaking rocket while the thing's moving.
Huh, dude, that entire ending scene. Wait, yeah. How did we not
It's
talk about
so
the end?
nerve-wracking.
The end is so good. He's literally hanging on to this giant missile, and he's like, "Please don't launch!" Like,
And they do the camera angle so you see Earth.
oh,
and you're just like,
it looks like the guy. If you've ever seen the video, the Red Bull guy who jumps from the stratosphere.
Yes.
that's where he's
Yes.
at. You know, with no parachute.
Can I ask one thing?
Okay,
When they turn the power back on, why didn't the rocket fall?
I don't know.
Okay. That didn't make sense to me because he's
Yeah.
on it and it's the next one, right? It's the next one that's going to drop.
Yeah, and then I got
And then he
confused
turned
about that
the power
also.
off.
And then it came back on,
And then came back, and he was
fine.
still on the rocket. It
But
took
then
him a while
another
to get
rocket
off.
launched. I don't know.
Well, I don't think another one launched. They were
Oh.
all just still going. But they were all
you're
going
right.
to their places.
Yeah,
And until they destroyed it, that's when they fell. So I was like, why
interesting.
didn't he drop?
What are you gonna give the story?
It was a good story. I think it fell a little flat around the middle.
Mm-hmm.
The third act was so good, though.
Yeah, it was
Like
great.
everything in the Nomad. Like
Honestly, the first and third act, I think
the first and third were
very
perfect.
good.
Yeah, the second was a little mudded.
Yeah,
I'll give it a 186.
okay,
Like still a really good story.
Yeah.
It had its problems, but
yeah,
$80 million, new IP. I'll take
great.
this any
yeah.
day.
I'm gonna give it a 189 for kind of the same reasons. I just love that attention to detail. Okay, acting. It's when they're about to kill the kid.
And he goes up to her.
Yeah, and I think it's that part. And she
And
goes, I think she's crying, and she goes, "Am I going to heaven?" Dude, how old is that kid?
I don't know.
Because the acting from that kid
She
was
did phenomenal.
She's 9,
Holy crap.
which means when they filmed this, she was 7 or 8.
Yeah. Dude, she was good.
So good.
So good.
Like really, really, really good. And then John David Washington, who I feel like I've only seen in Tenet.
Yeah, I know. Which he was great in
He
Tenet.
was great in Tenet. He
was great
because
in this
he dragged
movie.
that cheese grater across that guy's face, and it was my favorite part of the movie. My only complaint maybe is Evil Sergeant Lady,
Yeah.
who played Evil Sergeant Lady.
She just got like her character arc was bad.
Yeah, maybe that was it.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a writing thing. Because it was
But
a
her
little,
acting was fine.
her arc, the writing for her character was like a little muddy.
It's just way over the top.
Yeah.
Way over the
So she was fine.
Yeah.
But other than like the kid, honestly, the kid herself gives this movie so many points. Just for a kid like that, I don't know if I've seen acting like that from a kid that young.
Yeah. This is what I wanted Looper to be.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. So I'm going to give it 199. And that's all that kid, basically.
Yeah.
She was
198.
Okay.
Her and just everybody else was fine. You
Yeah.
know, I thought the Tenet guy did really, really good.
Yeah.
And the girl did really good, but it wasn't like everybody was phenomenal.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Okay, score. I mean, I see where you're coming from. I think that maybe the music just hit you and I differently in the movie, which
Yeah, it just felt like
is
your
how it
typical
works, but-
intense music.
that's fair.
Yeah.
Well, what are you going to give it?
I don't know. It was fine. But I don't know if I can give it like super high because
Yeah.
nothing blew me away other than that one song, which I thought was legit. I
Okay.
don't know what it was.
It was like Ant-Man.
Yes.
It's like that 30 seconds of that like absolute banger.
Yeah, when Bill Murray
and then it
comes
was
down,
nothing.
and then it was just like,
Yeah.
okay, it was fine. I'll give it a 171.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like,
That's not that bad.
no, it wasn't horrible.
Yeah.
It just nothing like super stuck. I remember the music when it was getting intense,
Yeah.
which I usually don't, but it wasn't like, oh, this is good music. It was just, oh, cool,
Okay.
intense music.
I'm going to give it a 185.
Okay.
Which I would call the low end of top tier scores.
Okay,
If
yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's not in the Star Wars, Pirates, Lord of the Rings tier,
Mhm.
but it's kind of like up there with them, like it's interning for those scores. It's a little
Yeah.
low level employee, but earning its merit. So I thought it was really good. I was shocked to see Hans Zimmer at the end, but here's the thing. You saw Hans Zimmer and you thought, "Oh, really?" And
Yeah.
I saw Hans Zimmer and I was like, "That makes sense." So it's interesting that
Yeah, that's so weird.
that we felt differently about that. But because I thought it was good. I thought it was like a
I'm going to give it
really pretty good
okay, I'm
score.
going to change my score to a 176.
Whoa.
Because the sound effects
We're
were
jumping.
so good in this movie.
Yeah.
That nomad,
That's
just
true.
like the lights and all,
I loved it.
that was good.
Yeah, it was really good. Okay, vibe.
Okay.
My one thing about the vibe, which I wanted to talk about kind of with the VHS stuff,
Okay.
is, and it's a little bit that, but this had a similar vibe to Star Wars in that Star Wars, George Lucas developed to, his goal was to make it feel futuristic, but lived in futuristic, which nobody had kind of done up to that point. Everything futuristic was like shiny chrome and this is the future and blah, 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 blah. And he was like, no, like the future's still going to feel like everything's used
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. That's how this felt, where it wasn't, and it was kind of like Looper, but
Yeah.
not as over the top, like
Yeah.
doom and gloom as Looper. More like Looper felt realistic in its own way as far as like people go. This felt pretty realistic as
Yeah.
far as like technology and just like the earth goes, because it was still like separated into classes and different stuff like that. So I don't know. I just really liked the movie a lot. So
The movie was cool.
I'm gonna go 198 on the vibe,
Okay. I'm gonna,
just for the I don't know, it didn't suck me in all the way, but it got very close.
yeah. I'm going to give it 192.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Still really good.
Yeah,
Just had some minor problems.
yeah,
But my thing for this is I think I'm hoping that it has some legs. I'm hoping that
Yeah.
it gets some traction.
Yeah.
Because I think the second one could be the movie I wanted.
for sure. That would
This
be
could
awesome.
be the
I would
Empire
love that.
Strikes Back to New
Yes.
Hope, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. What do you think you gave the movie, Mr. Craig?
951.
950.
I gave it 950.
Yeah, you gave it 950.
Dang it!
So I was higher than you.
Yeah, oh,
so I'm going to say I
definitely.
gave it a 974.
Okay.
970. Sometimes it's an even number, okay? Sometimes
Yeah, both
it's
of
a
our
plain old
950 and 970.
950 and 970.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Go
that's
watch
accurate.
it.
I
Just-
think you have to watch it
Just
in
to
the
promote this
theaters.
movie, go watch it.
Yeah, because this movie deserves a lot of love. Box office prediction, my guy.
Ugh, my gosh. 115.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm
No.
gonna go. What?
No.
Okay, go.
That's too high.
You got to pick a number. It's taking too long.
101.
Okay, 101. I am gonna go the extremely hopeful route, and I'm gonna double its budget. I'm gonna say it's gonna make $160 million.
Perfect.
And it's gonna hit
I
that number
hope
that
it
it needs
does.
to do.
I
I'm
hope
just
it
going
does.
hopeful on it. But realistically, that's not gonna happen unless. Here's the thing:
It could,
we've seen
though.
some crazy things happen though.
Well,
With Oppenheimer,
Oppenheimer-
Elemental,
Holy crap.
they did nothing, and then
Elemental. I'm sorry. Those numbers are
they're
totally
totally
rigged.
faked. But if they were real,
Maybe
Let's just pretend they're
maybe
real.
they'll fake these numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll be like 50 million. Oh, 500 million. Yes.
30 million weekend? No, actually 300
He like just
million
buys
weekends.
Box Office Mojo and he's like, here's the numbers. Okay, guys. Well, I recommend this movie a ton.
Yeah.
I think that anybody could like this movie because it's not just an action movie.
Mm-hmm.
It is a lot more than that, and it's very intriguing and very fun.
Yeah.
So I would say go see it. This has been the best episode of Rubber Endometriosis.
Oh, wow.
Acting cool. Timmy is orange nuts. Tauruses, not tortoises, but Tauruses, like the zodiac sign.
Oh.
And Ford Tauruses, inching miles everywhere. Thank you so much.
What was that?
I
That was
don't know.
amazing.
Thank you so much. I'll be here all week. Thank you, and stay tuned for Ahsoka
Bye.
because it's coming.
If you haven't watched
And Loki.
it, watch it.
Watch it.
It's been,
Okay.
It's been good.
It's been good. Okay, bye.